Hi friends, my name is Megan and welcome to episode 129 of a Naughty Mess Knitting Podcast. I am excited to chat with you all today about some normal podcasty things. For anyone who's new here, my name is Megan and I'm a mostly knitter, sometimes crocheter, I spin yarn, and just love all things fiber. I'm based out of the Pacific Northwest, just north of Seattle. I live with my husband Mike, our daughter Theo, our dog Winter, my mom Cindy, still currently hosting Mike's parents and their dog Zoe. I heard yesterday that we're going to have Zoe for a little bit extra time because they're going somewhere after treatment ends, which I'm glad they're going to get some sunshine and totally need to recharge their batteries. So we're full house, but this is a video diary podcast thing where I chat with you about all the things I am knitting, spinning, crocheting, working on, enjoying, loving out in the fiber world, and the books I read, and plans and acquisitions, and what I'm wearing. This time is not a newly finished object because I don't have any. I have one, but I don't have any wearables like sweaters. Words are hard. Okay, it's very early in the morning on Thursday, January 22nd. I have been enjoying getting some extra stuff done this week, and I did a fun thing with my knitting group and also hurt myself. So let's talk about all of those things. Let's go. Okay, so first, what I'm wearing. I'm just going to do a really quick recap here. This is the Ray sweater by Jessica from Knitwork. I love this. I test knit this in wool folk yarn. So it was a supported test knit. They just gave me the yarn for it, but otherwise it ran as a normal test knit. We were on Slack. We wrote in questions. We gave feedback. This pattern is very thoughtfully designed and very simple. It won a lot of my superlatives. So if you remember, or if you watched the superlative episodes, this is the Ray sweater. It came up a bunch. It's really simple. It was my fastest, I think it was my fastest pullover knit last year. And it's at quite a tight gauge, but it's DK. I do think you'd probably have more success if you didn't have a blown tube yarn, DK weight yarn. I would use a sport weight yarn for this because I think otherwise gauge is just maybe a little too tight. But if you get gauge, so there's this really beautiful neck detail here where you have actually an increase. There's two, and there's two in the back too. So to lay your neckline flat, please don't worry, before you block this, it's not going to look like this. It will sit like up more stiffly, and it was like doing this. She just released a new pattern actually like this week, I think. And it is like a higher collar, very similar to this. I don't think the raglan lines, I don't know if it's a raglan, it might be a drop shoulder, but it's a little bit different, but it's, pretty simple silhouette. Really cute, but has like an intentionally high neckline. This one is supposed to, fit close to your neck, but like sitting down, like the ribbing sits down on your chest. Okay. You get these really beautiful, this is the Ray part of it, right? You get this beautiful lines here. There are these sleeves. I did the tapered sleeve, but it is still quite wide. You get the same, ribbed detail underneath, which I think is really beautiful. And that goes down your side as well. Just like, there's lots of sweaters out there that do this sort of join and then they split, whatever. And then it's just a plain stockinette body afterwards. I will have had a picture up of me in it standing. So like you can see how cute it is when I'm standing. I'm not going to do that right now, partly because the act of standing is still painful. Standing up is fine, but getting to standing, we'll I'll talk about why. But yeah, so it's like it's very basic, but it's so cute. And there's something like, it's just very chic. Like, listen, I don't knit petite knit patterns. I don't do it because she still doesn't write truly size inclusive patterns. And I think that I heard like one of her new ones is, and I was like, oh, but also, whatever. She has a lot of basics though. And I get why people are drawn to knitting basics. There are a couple more basics that are, I think, going to be in my plans for this year. I don't know that I'll have that many like just totally stockinette things. I have a couple though that I would like to use, but using variegated yarns. So, semi-basic. But I do love this very tonal, very plain thing. So like maybe this is a plan for also future me. But this yarn is called Far, and it is from Woolfolk. They're based out of Oregon. They're a great yarn company. They are expensive. This is a luxury yarn company. I think like yarn in general is kind of expensive. Getting into sweater making, and when you're using like wool, like animal fibers or plant fibers, it can get kind of spendy. This is on the higher end of this, right? So this was gifted, but this yarn is really, really soft. And I'll tell you how it's holding up. So I have worn this quite a lot since I finished, compared to like other things. Like I have a lot of sweaters, so I typically do, you know, wear things usually once or twice a month at most. Still wearing a sweater every day. I've worn this a little bit more than that, and you can see there's a little bit of pilling happening. I'm gonna give this one a good shave probably next week when I lay out a couple sweaters. I'm gonna wash a couple and I'm gonna shave a couple. And I don't think it's very bad though. It's not any worse on the body. Like sometimes like right here where you're moving your arms, you get more. And I've worn this like 2 places, picked up my kid, worn it with her. Even though I was like, maybe I'll feel really precious about this. I haven't. I've just worn it and it's so nice. Okay. That's that about this beautiful thing. Details, measurements, all those things you can find in Ravelry. If you have questions about it, let me know. I do think this is one I've recommended the pattern a bunch to people. I've recommended this yarn, though I do understand that's expensive. Again, note here, you're not going to do this in Far. Maybe look for like a sport weight yarn. Just go look at the gauge. I don't think I could achieve that gauge with regular DK weight yarn. Okay. Notes to you. All right, so let's talk about what I did finish this week, which is one thing that I cast on. And you might guess what it is because I did tell you I'm going to do some single skein projects. This is the Manhattan Hat Bulky by Tori, who is Tori Knits NYC. I did knit this longer than pattern by about an inch or an inch and a half. And I did the adult large. Okay, couple of reasons. One is that this yarn is technically worsted, maybe Aran, not quite a bulky. Okay, I think it was like 180 meters for 100 grams, so like close to 200 yards. But it's very plump, like really, really plump. Okay, part of the reason I did this also is because Ariel did this. It's like monkey see, monkey do. And I saw her 2 weeks ago and she had it done, but hadn't washed it. And then she washed it this past week. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it really is. And I saw her and I was like, oh, so nice. I really do need to cast it on right away. So this is one that we actually both bought, intending to make this hat when we were at Rose City Yarn Crawl last year. And she's so funny because she bought 2 skeins thinking that she would need them both for this hat. And she knits a smaller size than me for sure. And she's like, I didn't even finish the first skein. So knowing that too, I was like, I'm going to just do some math and see if I can get more length, partly because I want a wider brim. I like a wider brim. This is a thing I've learned about myself for hats. Not every hat, but I do like a wider brim. And I was like, if I can do a double fold, otherwise this is like kind of a weird weight yarn. What am I going to use it with? So let's see what it looks like when it's double folded. And then I'll mess around with it for a bit once it's on my head. I can kind of do this like deep double fold and it's still a full-size hat. And that's like double, like this is all the way to the edge kind of double fold. And my problem is that, okay, so I'm probably a little bit off gauge. That's why I also picked the large to just give me more size, because this isn't a bulky. So the gauge is like a little bit smaller. So I wanted to give myself, so it has enough stretch. I do like when the Manhattan hat has a little stretch, you can really see the ribbing. And I wanted enough poof. So the last Manhattan hat I made for myself, I did a single fold and I was like being a little cautious about the yarn. It was in that poison green color that I told you I don't wear. And it's now just Theo's and it's double folded on her and looks great. But I didn't have that much peak. And if you look at like the Tori pictures, she's got like a lot of peak on her hat. And I kind of was like, I'm going to see if I like that. Plus I can always just give it more brim, a deeper brim, and then be fine. So let's see what this looks like. Yeah, look at that. So I actually have some peak on the hat for myself. Ah, it's so cute. Okay, so this is double folded. You can see that, like, you know, because of also the gauge and stuff, it's like quite wider. I don't know, like it's the The ribbing is stretched out. I did block this last night and I did open it up a little bit here with pins. Like I wanted, because when I first put it on, it was very scrunched at the top and I was like, okay, I want it to be like wider because obviously there's not going to be any tension here to widen it. So I just want to block it a little bit wider and it looks great. Also doing the adult large size for myself is probably logical even if I was on gauge because I have a big head. If you include my hair in here, it's like good 23 inches. It's a big head. I can't do like an adult small. Sometimes I do like an adult medium because I do prefer a little bit like of a tighter hat, partly because of my hair, because I have so much hair. If the hat's too loose, it'll just start sliding up, but that also happens if the hat's too small. So there's like just a sweet spot right in the middle, but this one is pretty good. I really enjoy this color. This is like really fun. As a reminder, this is yarn that I got at Rose City with Ariel, that from a company, an Italian women-owned yarn dyer. I don't know if they make the yarn or they just get it milled nearby, but called Lana. This one is called a Pure and Simple Wool Mega. They do have the regular, I think it's a fingering or a DK, like it is just the non-mega is just a smaller weight, or a lighter weight. This is called Oceano Mare, and it is 100% Aqualana, which apparently is not actually a breed. It's just that these are sheep from the region of Aquila. They are sometimes, can be associated to an indigenous Italian sheep called the Comisana, but it's known to have like elastic, soft wool, and it is very, very Rambouillet feeling to me. So like if you have a skein of Rambouillet and you got one of this, like it's very similar. It's maybe a little bit smoother, so like maybe like a Rambouillet Cormo Merino kind of mix, but yeah, really cute. I love it. I'm glad to have another fun hat to wear out, and especially because it's really cold this week. We're gonna have like our coldest week of the year this coming weekend. So when I walk the dog, I will have a nice warm new hat to wear, which I will wear. I like the profile and everything. I think it's really cute. So I'm excited to have one in a color I'll probably prefer to wear way more often. Once it goes on your head too, you can just like see it's sort of like, not that it gets floppier, but like it does stretch out and warm up a little bit, but that it is very elastic yarn. So I think it'll just like suck back to its shape. So I have one of my single skein projects is done. This is what, it's the 22nd. I don't know that I'll have another one done in January, but I might start my second one because Theo did request a speckled rainbow hat. It's like she remembered that she got that speckled rainbow yarn, the Holy, that I showed you last week. So I am going to get hers probably on the needles pretty soon, again, because it's cold. Kid hats go pretty fast, so maybe I'll get that done really fast, or I don't know, she's not in an emergency need because she has hats that fit her, aka my hats that she wears. Okay, I do have another, this is actually not a finished object related, but I do have like a semi-finished spin thing. So I did my first spin of the year. This is my Cormo Rose Bat from Little Fiber Co. in the This Ball Will Never End color. It's 80% Cormo, 20% Rose. It's 50 grams. This one was carded into a bat. So she has braids that are Cormo Rose. And this one's carded into a bat from Kira Wiggins. And she's great. So Little Fiber Co. is based out of Pennsylvania, and Kira Wiggins is based out of New Jersey. So I think they probably just even meet up to give each other stuff to make. So that's really cute. So this became this. This bat I got at Flock last year. So happy to have spun most of the fiber I got from Flock. I think I only have one thing left from this past year. So I have one other little bat, which I may hold off because I think she's going to be releasing more. And she said maybe in January. So I'm going to see if I can get more of it. But, and that's the K-pop Demon Hunters color. But anyway, this, very fun. The spinning of this, let's say, it was pretty good. So I do think that the rose was not as blended in as I thought it would be. And there were like some lumps in the bat. Like it wasn't as smooth of a bat as I kind of wished that it was. I did spin this mostly supported long draw because there were some of those moments where I just like felt like I needed to like manipulate the fiber a little bit more. There's parts of this that are definitely, you know, worsted spun, but for the most part, I did a supported long draw and I just took the bat and I opened it up and then I pulled strips off And I just did this by strips. I know Ariel was like experimenting, doing a bunch of different things. She had also just did her Cormo Rose bat. And I'm going to just ply this, a 2-ply. So I'm going to wind this off into a cake, and then I will just do inside outside and do a 2-ply that way. It's a really pretty color, like very pretty, like periwinkle color. And I'm excited to have a little yarn from that. I don't know what I'll use it for. It's got to be like a contrast with something else. But it's really cute. Like, I don't know what I would use it in. It depends on how the finished yarn feels, but like, I feel like I could use a small thing like that with another something for like mittens, or like a small cowl, or just like a little that has like a little bit of color work. But anyway, I'm excited for that. Okay, let's go through my whips then for the week. I'm skipping Anna the Duck. I'm going to skip DRK Everyday Socks because I did add some rows, but I don't think I had a marker in, and I didn't even get to the heel of the second sock. So if I added rows, I added like 10, and it was not that exciting. So we're going to skip it. My Stella Quilt blanket. I started my second square, and I did choose a new color. I do have other teal squares because I don't have a lot of teal scraps, but I just decided I wanted to do purple. Then my next color will be red because I already, and then green because I already have those bags have no minis to wind. I wound up a couple minis this week. I spent like an hour just winding yarn the other day for various projects and things and getting stuff ready. Okay, so here we are with star number 2. I'm really loving the color combos here. This is kind of like a cool purples for the most part. This is probably our like warmest purple that'll be in here, but there was a lot of like gray-y purple looks here. So I'm doing this one. I also have an all gray bag that I could do. I think that has no minis to wind. So something, you know, anyway, some of these are very fun. I don't know what most of these are. This one here, however, I do know. This one is I Can't Fix Me from Witchfire Fibers, her Sarah J. Maas collection from Throne of Glass. I think this is Nesta's color, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm like really loving how they're coming out so far. And I just need to add the one more for this row, and then I don't know that I'll finish it this coming week, but like seriously, these are so addictive to just like see new colors pop up. These, especially these 2 middle rows, are like very fun. The last row is boring. The first row is fine because you start with the plain one and then you get into your colors, and that's kind of exciting. But the last row, like the last square you do is all white, which is boring to me. But it is easy because you have less ends to weave in. I did weave about half of the ends in here, so I didn't do this square right here at the top, but I did most of the rest of them. So that's progress. I still have to do the last like couple on my teal one, but I will do that this week. So I need to find a bag that I'm going to settle this in. So that's my Stella Quilt blanket. Progress on square number 2. This is patterned by Laura Penrose. If I didn't say that already, I did go down to a 3.5 millimeter needles. I'm holding stock weight yarn double, all different blends, although my plain color is a non-superwash. Okay, now let's go on to the thing I spent the most time working on, which is the Finest Kind. This is a sweater that I'm making for my husband. It's a sweater by Alicia Plummer. It is size 2. The chest should be about 40.5 inches, and I was using a 4.5 millimeter needle. The recommended needle is 5. I went down because this is an Aran weight sweater, but using Nuda didn't have double, which is what I'm using. I knew I would be off gauge. I knew I'd be off row gauge regardless of what needle size I pick, but I went down 1 needle size. I did a mini gauge swatch and I thought it was fine. As I kept going, I was like, oh, this is fine. I tried it on Mike on Friday maybe, because I was like, I needed to do my math, and I was like, let me just make sure this fits, and like, do I need 1 or 2 inches, because we weren't exactly settled on the length of the body. So I did that, and when I tried it on him, it looked enormous, and I was like, well, it's on like halfway on needles, and then the back half was on a like keeper, like a barber cord, and I was like, maybe it's just that. And then I laid it flat against like a sweater that he likes but is a little baggy on him, and it was bigger than that by like 2 or more inches, and I was like, ugh. So I ripped it all out. I ripped the whole body out. I kept the ribbing because the way that was cinching in the knitted in, I didn't want it to be any smaller. So I used 3.75 millimeter needles for the ribbing. I will keep those needles for the ribbing. But then I like had a debate with myself. Do I just try to do a couple decreases and keep the 4.5 millimeter needles? I liked the fabric. I started ripping this out and then I was like, you know what? Let me do a little gauge swatch here on top of the fabric. I just picked like 30 stitches and went back and forth like 15 rows to see if I was getting better. Still knowing I'm gonna be off row gauge regardless. So I was like, don't really care about that. I care about the stitch gauge. It was way better. I'm actually a little bit under gauge right now, pre-blocking, which is good because I think I'll be fine to just give this a tiny, tiny tug and open the stitches up a little because it is a double moss stitch. Okay. All that to say, I ripped out the whole body, 12 or so inches of body, knit it back up, same number of stitches, one needle size smaller, and then I finished the body. I got to the full 14 and a little bit that I wanted to get to. Knowing I was off on gauge, I just did some estimates with like so you you bind off a couple stitches and then you do some decreases and then you do some straight and then that's like for the back panel, and then you do some short rows. Okay. The front sort of mimics that, though the rows are not exactly the same numbers. And so I had to like do some measuring, do some estimating. I'm a little bit over on length in row, but I will have a hard time picking up enough stitches for this sleeve size. And he's a dude, so he does have like muscly arms. So I need to look at some numbers to see what that is. And I might be off by just like 2 still, picking up more stitches, but I don't want them to look poofy. So I'm going to like figure this out. I might also just do no decreases for a while in his biceps so that it's like less. The way that it looks on Justin for his size, because she's on gauge, obviously, she wrote the pattern. This is her husband in the pictures. His sleeve looks like quite relaxed, like sweatshirty, like big. So the armhole is fine. I have not tried this on Mike. So I did do my 3 needle bind offs and I was like, I surely hope this fits him. But I did try it on his body again, splitting for sleeves or splitting for front and back. And it was so much better. So much better. So I think we'll be fine, but I do need to try this on him before I do sleeves tonight. Try it on him tonight before I do sleeves, whenever I'm going to do this weekend. So it looks like a little vest right now, which actually this would be a very cute vest, by the way. I think that's like kind of what Amy Scher's new vest is. I think it's like a moss stitch or a double moss stitch. But anyway, that texture is like nice for a vest. I'm going to give him sleeves. And I was worried a little bit about yarn too. So the other reason I wanted to maybe see, like, I was worried if I went down just a needle size, that the tighter gauge would still just like use a lot of yarn and I would be in a bad way, but I'm fine. I used all of this. I still have 2 full plates left, which I think is going to be enough for sleeves and a collar. That's all I have left. I will do the collar first and then I will do the sleeves. I will not do the collar until I try this on him though, because that will make a difference. But I will do the collar and then I will do the sleeves so that if I need the sleeves to be like one row less, like I just can't like risk, the collar has to be done. I do think that the depth she has on the collar though, just like in the measurements I have, because my row gauge is a little bit off, I am going to possibly do slightly less rows. I do like that it has this dip. Like it's going to look really nice on him, but I might do like 2 less rows in ribbing and just have that be a little bit more narrow at the neck and keep the sleeves, more close to this, or also make those more narrow. I'm not really sure. Anyway, so big saga, ripping out. It was painful. Also, this is painful to rip out. Like I was like, I'm going to try not to rip it. And I could just have one big ball because I've already spliced all the ends. No, I had like 9 balls because just sometimes there's like a weak point that is fine in the fabric, but you're pulling it and just boop, 9 or 10 different times. So I had all these like small, just winding up as I was going. So I had all these small balls and then I just spliced them all back together, which fine. We're going to have a lot of spit splices in here. It'll be very strong. So here's where we are. All that to say, we have most of a sweater. I do want to try to get the sleeves, at least one sleeve done this week if I can, if not both of them. And I have one more full week after like if I film next week, I'll have still 1 full week and then it's his birthday. So I could potentially get this done in time for birthday. He's not going to wear it on his birthday because it is the Super Bowl. Probably. So he probably won't wear it on his birthday. But that's where we are for the finest kind. I'm going to give you just a super small update on my other 2 projects that are in here too. So I did work on this a couple times. And so you can see more body progress and it's looking quite lovely. This is my Pressed Flowers pullover. I was here last week. I have now finished the first chart and I did the first row of the chart the second time. So the thing that will happen now is I need to figure out how many flowers deep. I think it's only like 5 if the math of my row gauge is correct. I think I only have like 5 full flowers before I get to where she recommends for body. It's like 2.5 inches of ribbing, which I need because I'm going to run out of this. I think I'm going to run out of this contrast my flower color. Which is fine, but it does mean I'm going to do 1 more flower. This is my plan. 1 more flower this week. And then I'm going to go to sleeves and I'm going to do the sleeves per the pattern. Maybe these are quite large sleeves. So I'm going to keep the decreases as she has them written, I think, because I don't want to do that kind of math, but she only has 2 decreases written. Then I think you still do more sleeve. So I may just continue to do decreases. I don't know that I'll do 3 full repeats of the chart for the sleeves, but even if I do half of a repeat, I will just have taken out a couple more stitches, which will help me. But I like the look of the sleeves, and then you do a rapid decrease for like a sort of a bishopy sleeve at the bottom. But I may have to do more. I might have to just go between. I'm gonna have so many balls of yarn connected to this. I know this gives people anxiety, but that's like okay with me. I may have to go through, and I need to wind up my last ball of the contrast color and my last 2. No, I still have 2 of the main color left over. So I just may have to have slightly like longer cuffs because I'll have more of the main color. So that's okay with me because I would rather not. That's like not a weird way to end this. They already has kind of big cuffs and a kind of big hem, but if they just kind of match each other, I think that's fine. Even if the collar is like this, I think you just have to have like semi-matching-ish things. Like 2 out of 3 is okay. Okay, so that's where I think I'm going to get to is I think I'm going to run out of my flower color and I will need to have some math done, which means I definitely have to get at least 1 more flower in here, but I think going to the sleeves is fine. And if I'll just like get through most of one sleeve and I'm like, oh, I still have a full half of a ball and I'm totally fine, then I may be okay on the body. If I'm like getting through one sleeve and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to need to use some of the body skein on the sleeve, then we're definitely going to need to just adjust that and give myself a longer cuff. Okay. That's where we are. I've been added a lot, but I had to do some thinking this week because of my yarn situation, which is fine. This is also because I'm using hand spun. I didn't even do the yardage on it, but it's not that much yardage. It's definitely like a thick DK. And this needed to be a little bit thinner. It just needed to be spun a little bit thinner. This was one of my, like I did this early last year. Not that that's an early spin for me, but I haven't done a lot of sweater spins. So consistency and getting to the right thing that you want, like sometimes is not perfect and that's okay. I will make do. I think either way will be fine. Even if this is a little bit cropped in the flowers and quite a quite a long band of ribbing, even for the sleeves, especially because they bishop in, I think that's going to be cute. So I'm not really worried about it. Last thing to go over really fast, and that is by Amy Christophers, who's Savory Knitting. And I'm knitting a size 3, which is 49 inches, I believe, which is seems like a small size, but it's just like the way that chart is. Okay. So the next thing I want to just quickly discuss on my needles. And again, I did not do very much. So you can see here, I wanted to do like 20 more rows in this, but because that sweater was so off gauge, that took me all of Friday night, Saturday night knitting time, and a little bit of Sunday. And I did have the day off Monday, but Mike and I went and did some stuff. And then I had an activity with my knit group. And so I just didn't have like a ton of time to knit on Monday. So that's what I was like hoping to get more time for this, but I didn't. Oh my gosh, this color is going to be so good. Ugh. Okay. I will say I wound up the rest of my cake. So I have 5 full cakes of this. They are all different colors. This was a custom dye for me. And this one I think is very close to this. So I have one other that's very close to this. And I have two that are lighter, like not super significantly lighter, but they're lighter. I don't know that I want to micro stripe it. I think I'd rather have it just like fade a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the rest of, because I'm not like, you know, like this, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm almost done. So I put this ball in here. That's going to take me forever to get through this. But once I'm done this one, I'm going to just go straight into this. I'm not going to do any transition because these are really close to each other. When I get to the third ball of this one, like this will get me through all of the rest of the raglan and some of the body. When I get to the next one, I will use that for the sleeves until probably halfway through, and then I will start helically knitting. I know it's crazy, whatever, but I think I will kind of transition into the other ball of yarn so that the body, which will need to transition into the other balls of yarn, is not like starkly has a fade and the sleeves don't. Do you know what I mean? It's not crazy different. It's just lighter. It is visibly lighter. So that's what I'm doing. That's my plan. We'll see how that goes. But again, I didn't do very much on that. And that's from Andrew Mowry, the Birch Pullover. And I'm knitting a size 4 in that, which is 45 inches, because that's all the yarn I have. Also, and that sweater takes quite, I mean, like, I have not a lot of instructions left, but so many rows left of increases still, like of the raglan, and I'm gonna use quite a lot of that second skein because it just the rows are super long. Okay, I do want to talk about a yarn thing, but well, let's go into books first. So I read 5 books this week. I just had to make up for reading that one my one book alchemized week, but it was worth it. Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna think about that one for a long time. I mean, I thought about Manacled a lot last year, and honestly it's the same book, but whatever. Okay, the first book I read this week, I needed it to go a little bit lighter, if you may have guessed. And this one had been on my queue, like I was just waiting for it for a while, from the library. So this is The Mating Game by Lana Ferguson. It is one of her like paranormal romances. So these are shifters. This main character, the female main character, like I found a little bit bothersome in the beginning. I did warm up to her for the most part. I did feel like their problem felt rather large to me because it's like one of those, like someone's tied to a town and somebody has greater ambitions, right? And so somebody has to give up something, but the way that it resolved was like very nice and I liked it. But she is, I think what bothered me in the beginning is just like, she's like keeping herself isolated and in denial about something, but I get it. It was like a really big thing. So basically it starts with, she gets the news that she is a shifter and an omega in one fell swoop, from actually the doctor from the Fake Mating, which was another Lana Ferguson book about shifters. So it's in the same world. So that doctor reappears. Anyway, she gets this news and then she just like sticks her head in the sand. And then she's not as annoying as some other characters that I think do very similar things, but she is like also going to a new, she's a like a renovator. So she's like going to a new cabin to renovate and she's like, I don't have time for this. But she gets there and she realizes the guy is an alpha shifter, obviously. And they get snowed in and there's all these other things that happen. And as you may imagine, romance. So that one was pretty good though. Like I had a good time reading it. Not my favorite Lana Ferguson book. Okay, and for peach ratings for this one, I gave this one a plot 3.5. Enjoyment a 4, artistry a 4, and just because I feel like her writing style is like pretty fun and it's engaging, right? So I had a fun time reading it. Characters though, 3.5, they were fine. And then the heart, 3.75. Like I thought it was fun, but I don't know that I'd like scream about this one, right? But I do really like her writing style and I do generally like her things. So 3.75, and maybe also because this week I read better things or things I enjoyed a little bit more. So, you know, it's week over week comparisons of some stuff, I guess. Okay. The second thing I read this week was The Do-Over. This is a book by Lynn Painter. This is also one that just like was in my log for a while. So I figured I would do it. It's actually like this is a good one if you want to read a Valentine's Day book. This is a Valentine's Day book, which I didn't realize. Just because I don't always read the things. So certain authors, I'll just read it if I see a new book that came out from them. I don't know if this one is new, but I think this is the last one. I have maybe like one more book of Lynn Painter's, and then I've read everything she's published so far, because I just, including her YA. So this is a YA romance. Now, if you've seen Groundhog Day, that's what this book is about, but it's over Valentine's Day. I asked my mom, I have not seen Groundhog's Day, and I was like, since I was like a kid, right? So I was like, how does he get himself out of it? And she goes, I don't remember. I didn't look it up. I don't actually care. So you don't have to tell me below. But in essence, I mean, there's a lot of books that do this. Like I have read several books recently where like there's a do-over type thing. Like Palm Springs does this also of a movie. You know, there's like other movies. This is not a new concept where someone gets stuck in a time loop. And generally they have to do something to get out of it. They have to make a different decision. They've got to be more selfless. They've got to like figure something else out about themselves. This one is about a girl who one's trying, she's like architecting her perfect Valentine's Day. And like the first day, it all goes to crap. Well, then she wakes up and she's like, great, I'm going to redo and I'm going to make it better. None of these plans pan out for her. And so you see her go through several days. I enjoyed this one. I thought she did this in a way that was like not too repetitive, not too boring, because she skipped through some of that, like, I did this, you know, and I kept getting the same result. You know, like just a sentence or two to know that you've gone through the day several times for her to get a different result. It's so good. It was really fun. There's, you know, like absolutely really nothing but like some kissing that happens, right? Like there's nothing in here, but it was just, it was really her learning a lot about herself and trying to figure out, not even how she could be less rigid, but like just doing things for herself, which I feel like it's a little bit funny because it's like making a selfish decision is what gets her out of it. But some of it is just like, she is in her situation of life. Like she has learned to just people please and she's not happy. And so it's really finding her happiness. And I loved you. I mean, obviously, you know, when it's going to end because you're in a day that you're like, there's no way this isn't going to come back to bite her. But this was very fun. So my scores for this is, my plot is a 4. Enjoyment was a 4.5, and a 4 only because like it's been done before many times, but I thought she did this one well and plot moved along nicely. The artistry was 4. It's really a YA facing novel. There's nothing that was like, oh my gosh, this is so moving or anything, but it was fun. Characters 4.25. I think she dug into most of the characters really well. I think that there's some of the side characters we could add a little bit more of, and that would have been a little bit better, but overall really good. And the heart 4.25, because even for a YA novel, I think I would suggest this to people. So my overall for that is a 4.2. Okay, then I read the, you know, smash sensation Rachel Reid books. I read 2 of those this week, so I'll talk about the first one first. And then I'll talk about them in red order because I've read something in between. But the first one is called The Game Changer. Interestingly, and I think because maybe it makes for slightly like less compelling TV, the second book is what became the HBO show. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, he did Rivalry as a show that came out on HBO, like, I don't know, in January or something, early this year in December. I'm not really sure when it came out, but, and it is a male romance, in the sports world, in the hockey world. I have said this before, and I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but like gay romance is not a new genre, and it's certainly not a new genre in sports. And for whatever reason, if you ever go down this rabbit hole, many of the sports romances that are male are hockey. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. that would be the case, that it's so many hockey people just love to write and read hockey romances. So why not, right? But plot for this one, just like very lightly, is that there are in this world, I'm not saying that this is the real world, this is like 2016, there are no out, like openly gay hockey NHL players, okay, in the world. And obviously, I don't even know if they say NHL ever, just like National Hockey or like Hockey League or whatever, because they can't, like, I don't know, there's some of these trademark things. Regardless, that's what it is. Professional hockey players. So there is a guy who's like never been in the limelight for like dating. Like he just is a recluse kind of. not even a recluse. He's just like very private, you know? And like, I think it is pretty common actually in hockey, and even in like a lot of like football is pretty common, I think too, where like people get married pretty young and have kids and families because they've got money, and I don't know why, just that's the thing that happens. And so, you know, he's talking about how like he just feels really different from his team members. But anyway, he knows that he's gay, and he finds somebody. And it's the first time he's ever wanted to date somebody in New York, which is where he's based. He's mostly only had like light flings in the summer going somewhere else where he's not recognized. And it's like secret, right? Like, so there's a lot of secret, and it's like kind of like coping with that as like for both parties. Like, are they okay with it? Do they need more? I loved the characters in this. I think Kip, who is the boyfriend, is just like trying to find himself, and there's a lot in here with like the disparities in their situation, the fact that he needs to be a secret, like just so much. And like the angst is good, but the heat between them is also really good. Is quite explicit, both of these books, where there's much in the open door scenes. Okay, so for me, and I won't tell you what happens really, but I will say it is interesting that they picked He Did Rivalry, the second book. But I do know, I watched one episode so far because I just finished the book, that there is an episode about the characters from Game Changer. So that is a thing that happens. Okay, so for Game Changer, I gave my plot 4.5. I thought this was like pretty good. Like, that's not a new thing to be a secret or whatever, but I thought that like the plot moved along pretty well. There was a little bit of dip like towards the 70%, like right before the conflict, but it had to. That was part of it. Enjoyment was a 5 though. I had a great time reading it. Artistry was a 4. You know, again, nothing that like made me feel so compelled, but there were parts that I was just like I had the feels for both of them. Characters was a 4.5. I thought this was great. I do think this was a pretty small cast of characters, but overall I really enjoyed like everybody you meet. Even the little side ones where you're just like, you don't know if they're going to be of any consequence, like the friends, I enjoyed. And then 4.5 for my heart. I think this one has a ton of heart. It was really good. So my overall score for that one is 4.5. Then I read Unbroken Bonds. Okay, this is the 6th in the Bonds That Tie series by Bree. This is the last one. I don't know why I put it off for so long. Months I put it off for. It was a pretty low rated one for me though, because it feels a little anticlimactic. They're like fighting the big bad boss at the very end is just like, they like basically say at the end of the 5th book and going into the 6th one, like, we're invincible now. And that's how they act. And still bad things happen. There's like one really bad thing that happens that's like a catalyst for like all the changes they need to make. But you get more. It's kind of like this is even though there is the bad boss to finish, a lot of this book feels like a setup for the epilogue, which then is only like a chapter. So I felt like a little unsatisfied this. I don't want to tell you much more than that, but this series, if you'll remember, is sort of like X-Men style powers. There's like shifters and telekinetics and mind readers and all the different people. And these like nightmare gods that have like bonds inside of them that's like their powers, and they're like bonded to a group of people, and it's a girl and 5 powerful guys, and there's ghosts from enemies to lovers to like they're totally obsessed with her to like they find out there's like sort of something else going on with their bonds. And like it's the whole progression of the story, I think for me is much more like close to a 4. This book for me was a 3.5. So plot was a 3.5 because again, I sort of felt like it was just a setup. I mean, you get a lot of tied ends, you get a lot of progress that happens, but it was like a little bit like dipping too slow in certain parts. The enjoyment was like a 3.5. I kind of just wanted the series to be over. That sounds terrible, but that's sort of how I felt. Artistry, again, for me, this was a 3 because I felt like she was sort of repeating herself, and like a couple of the characters that she wrote in perspective, I didn't find them that engaging. And then the heart for this book is like 3.5. This one is not really going to stick with me. Like, it's already sort of out of my brain of what happens. Like, okay, they beat them, and then like HEA, I guess, like it's fine. So 3.5 for that. Overall, I think the series is like solidly a 4. and I enjoyed it. It's not something that I would be like, oh my gosh, I felt so much for all those characters. I just didn't. They were okay. There were some good spicy scenes, but like not even in this book that much. And so like maybe that was it too. I was just like, meh, like, okay. Okay, so then the last book I read was also by Rachel Reid. He did Rivalry. This one is about 2 hockey players. Now, I told Mike the plot of this morning because I told him I started watching the show. But I was like, I understand why they picked this one as the show. We were talking about this versus Game Changer. And I was like, I get it because there's something compelling about this. In that there's much, like, there's a lot between the 2 of them and like both what they're dealing with and also like the time in which this happened. So this book happens over 8 years and there is like a little bit of like going back and forth, but I think it's really just that you meet them in time when they're already something to each other. Then you go back and you go through all of their meets, but she doesn't prolong that. She doesn't make this be like so long, but you really get to see the progress of the relationship, which is how the show starts too. Sort of. The show just starts in the past. They're like 17 or 18 when they first meet, and so it goes up until they're like 26 and like fully grown adults at that point. And also like obviously when they have the epiphany that like maybe this is more, and how complicated that's going to be. So this is 2 hockey players that are like in competition throughout their youth to just like they're constantly compared to each other as the best 2 players of their like generation or like at least of their year. They get drafted in the same year. They're like in junior competitions. They're in the same Olympics. Like there's a bunch of stuff that they do against each other and they really flip-flop between. It's not always one person winning. They flip-flop between who wins stuff. And the news also, especially because they get drafted to 2 different teams that are sort of rivals, there's like just so much that goes into their rivalry. Well, when they discover that they have a thing for each other, that also becomes like, oh my gosh, we really have to keep this a secret because like this would blow up in the news. They were too young they didn't know they weren't anything to each other to start with. And then when they do become something to each other, I was like saying this to Mike, I was like, gosh, can you imagine? And he immediately said it. He was like, yeah, are people going to be like, did you let each other win? And I was like, this is the problem. This is a crux of just, if you explain this to anything, if you have 2, athletes that compete against each other in a team sport like this, that could always be called into question. And that is so crazy to think of. So that was definitely something that came up in this book, which I thought was really interesting. So my page rating for that one is a 4.6. Okay, so my plot is a 4.5. Enjoyment, 5. I really liked both Shane and Ilya, and even though they're like just a hot mess for so much of the book, okay, artistry was a 4. Again, I don't think this is the best written thing out there, but I do think it's got the like fun factor and like like any genre and even subgenre series like this, sometimes something gets picked up which like you guys might have opinions of better written things in this exact little subgenre. Throw them my way. I want to read it then. But I don't read a lot of just like romances, but this one I found like I felt it like hit me. Also like it's believable the way that they like meet. Also it's not just like okay, a thing that I really hate about some sports romances is that they act like these people are not busy. Like, they're busy. They're gone. They are in practices all day long. They have film. They have trainers. They've got to actually go to the gym. They've got, like, other things they need to do. I thought this one dealt with it in a good way in that, like, most of the time that they meet up, it's just, like, right after their games. Like, they don't have infinite time to go see each other. They don't escape to each other's houses or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I liked that, okay? It's just a little thing in the artistry that, like, I was like, this makes it more believable to me. Characters, 4.5. I really like them. I do think there's, like, a little bit of, like, the parents, like, the sub-characters just got, like, flashes. It's not what it's about, so that's okay. But even, like, some of the friend characters, I felt like could have just been fleshed out a tiny bit more. But, Heart, 5. I would totally recommend this to people. I think I'm going to talk about it and think about it a little bit more. Plus, there's I think 6 or 7 books in this series. So this is 2. I think there are 2 more books about different couples, still one at least being like an NHL player. Also like in this same like world and realm, because these like Scott Hunter's in the first book is the NHL character. He comes up in this one. Also, he comes up in the timeline because of what happens with him. Then there's 2 more, and then there's 2 more books about this particular couple, like figuring it out. So yeah, I won't give you any more. I know what happens because I kind of read the little blurbs about these, and I was like, I know how this is going to go, but I still will maybe read them. So I had a great time with the characters. I don't see why I wouldn't read them. I might give myself a little bit of a break because I've got a bunch of books from the library that I just got, but I will go back to these because I did have fun. So again, anytime, give me those recommendations. If you're like, well, if you like these, you'll like this. I probably will. So I had a great time reading those. Very spicy. Okay, so I said that one was a 4.6. So that was my most highly rated for the week. And definitely the one I know I had the most fun reading. So there's that. Okay, so I have one really quick change of Make 9 to announce to you. So I think I said this on when I announced the Big 9 that maybe my Ballard pullover wouldn't last there, and it's not. So this color, which is vintage Barocco in the, I don't know what the color is, I have it like grape or something, I don't know. I am not going to use this. This is actually a really good color for Theo, and just like a DK weight that's 52% acrylic as a t-shirt, I'm a little bit skeptical of like actually me wanting to grab and wear that, like just getting too hot. For her, this will be like a sweater we wear mostly during like game days for Husky games, but I have yellow and white, and she did tell me she wants a striped sweater as her new Husky sweater when we were talking about this. Then when I made the Make 9 and I was like thinking about this color, that is the one that I'm going to use. I actually held this up to like a t-shirt that she has that's like a Husky t-shirt. This is UW, like University of Washington Huskies, by the way, which is my husband's school, and we live here and go to their games, etc. So I'm going to let her have this color. Plus I only have 4 skeins, so I could only do a t-shirt, and it all works out for her to have. Possibly also a hat that goes with that. We'll see. So what I decided to do was stash dive a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I would like to look at some skeins that are single skeins. If I'm already looking at single skein projects, I realized I had this like fade. So some of them are singles, some of them are doubles that I got from D-Stash a few years ago. So I think definitely before the podcast. And then a couple of other random skeins. So here's what I'm thinking let me just grab these out the other way. I'm thinking the color order will be this, or I might swap these 2 here. I'll show you what that looks like too. I think I might like that more just because this is like got more like neutral color in it. But this one has more like almost the white that would I think go with this. I don't know. Well, I'll probably cake them up to see how much that really looks like in the cake, and then I'll make a decision. I don't hate it this way because I think this brings the brown in. I don't know. We'll see. But either way, here's the colors I have. Whoops. These are all, I think, Fairy Tale DK. Yep. From Gothic, or from Dragon Horde Yarns. And so this one's called Gothic Daydream. This one is called Not All Witches Live in Salem, and this one is called Bone Carver, and you can kind of just like see those 3 together. I got this from somebody who had like a 7-color fade, but the other fade color they had at the end of the fade is this, and I hate this color. For very obvious reasons. I can't wear it. I could definitely not do it this way. By the way, I'm going to do the fade dark to light. That's what I'm going to do. But yeah, I can't wear this color. Like even around my waist, I don't want to wear this color. I actually thought of a really good idea for this. This one's called Heartgate. That's like I think it's a Crescent City thing. But anyway, there are 2 of those skeins, and I have 2 left over of my slate, which is like a little bit blue leaning, but would go really well with that for a shawl. So like some sort of DK weight 2-color shawl. I don't know. Anyway, those are thoughts for later date. But when I pulled these out, I was like, oh yeah, I cannot wear those ones. This has been in my mind for a while to do something with this in a fade. And so then I pulled out 2 extra skeins. So this is Yarn Addict Co., which is Little Fiber Co.'s like old yarn label, that when she was still doing superwash yarns. And then this is Sorella's Mrs. Patmore's Kitchen, which is the main color of my Leith cardigan. So I have like 1.5 skeins left. Okay, now the pattern that I would like to use is the Light Bright from Wool and Pine. And there's like extra light bright, or I think it's called extra light bright, which is the fingering weight. And then this is the DK weight one. Now, this is a really fun way to do a fade that is not just striped fade. So like a lot of fades, you fade into the color by doing like a different cadence of stripes in one color than the next, which does create sort of a fade look. But they were like, what if we did one by one color work to create this sort of same thing, but it's like a pixelated. So the fade looks not more, I don't know, more natural, or just like more of a fade, less of a like stripey fade. I don't know, whatever. So I'll just decide on the color order of these two middle ones. I think either way I'll like it, but I am really excited to get these all out of my stash. So because I have the way that the color fade is supposed to be, that this color here is the one I need 2 skeins in, and it's the one I don't have 2 skeins in. Obviously I have 2 of this one and I have 2 of this one, so I'm actually just gonna, and which makes me think like I might ditch this color depending on how many rows I have of everything else. But what I will do is I like the original pattern is that it's just really your shoulder is quite small in one color and fades pretty quickly, and then you start your second colors like the big band here. But I will just bring that down so the fade will start underneath of the collar more and will go in. So I'll just have a more of a dark at the top, which is fine, and I think I will like. I'm also like, because I'm undetermined on like if I want to have long sleeves or other things, I really do need the fade to start in this darker colors because I like really want to use these. And also like I can wear this at my neck, but I would prefer the dark. I have another dark fade I'm thinking about, or dark to light fade I'm thinking about, and this will be my first sweater to be like, do I like that as an idea, or do I want it to be light to dark? Is that like, because I feel like that's what people tend to do, and I think that's just because like if your hips your widest part, but like for me, because I'm like sort of hourglassy, like I don't know that I care, like, and I don't need to like not draw attention to my hips. Do you know what I mean? I think that's like just like the old adage is like don't have light colors at your hips, but we'll see if I agree with that after I make this. So I don't know when I'll cast this one on, but because these colors are out and I do want to get through this one like relatively quickly, this I don't know, maybe soonish. Also I don't know, if I do the t-shirt version, then that would be nice to have for the spring. But in my make 9, I had a couple people, because I reminded you guys last week, who were like, oh yeah, so I think I'm gonna do my clay sweater first, and that will happen right after I finish my sweater. So whenever I finish that, that's when I'm gonna cast on. This may be in 2 weeks or less. So if you are in for a clay tee or a clay sweater, or you just want to do another Ozetta pattern with us, I don't know, it doesn't matter to me. Please let me know and you can join us. I'll start just like a small chat somewhere. So again, just like let me know, and let me know like your preferred platform. Say like I'm in for clay sweater Instagram or anywhere, or you know, whatever. We could do it basically Discord or Instagram are probably the 2 easiest. So 2 other quick things to cover for like just like life updates or whatever. So the injury. It's not that bad of an injury, y'all. But we are doing this new thing in our knit group where we keep saying this is like a thing that like knit group tries new things. So we're either trying new things or we're doing something different together. Like Emily has brought up doing watercolors. We want to sew some bird bags or fish bags together. So just like doing a couple other things. And we often craft other crafts together also. Like there's a couple of people that sew and have done pants together, and they just like get together and do that. I'm not a sewer, but I would make a bird bag or a fish bag, just like mostly for Theo or for myself, because they're so fun. But one of the things that we said we wanted to do, and we said this last year and then just never made it out, is go ice skating with Ariel. If you don't watch Ari Knits podcast, Ariel is in my knitting group and she is lovely and she figure skates. So she started this as a grown-up. She grew up in Hawaii, and I think there's probably like one ice rink in Hawaii, if that, but like she did decide to like pick it up as a grown-up. Why not? So fun. She competes in everything. She gets the cute outfits, and we said we would go with her. Now it was me, Emily, Katie, and Jess, and then Ariel that went. So that was really fun. I have not been ice skating since I was 20, maybe. So like 16 years. A person could have been born and start driving in the time since I went ice skating last. If you would, if you're my age or older and you know what that means for your body, is like, I am not quite as spry as I once was. And also This is so funny. I told Mike where I was going. He knew this was happening for several days. It was not until I left that he then had this thought, and he told me when I got back, he was like, wait, she's going ice skating? This person who is relatively clumsy in actual life is going to go put blades on her feet and go on ice. And like, I have been ice skating many times as a child, like not tons, but like as a casual thing to do. Also when you're a little more fearless and probably had better balance or other things. I was not a disaster, but I was not a good ice skater out there this weekend. I did fall a couple of times, and really the thing that I fell like on my knee one time, that was like not that bad. I have a tiny bruise on my knee that hurt like for one day. It was fine. But the thing that I fell on was my butt a couple of times, pretty hard, just like banana peel. If you know what that is like, your butt on ice, and even with the nice and generous padding I have a bruise on my tailbone. It's not broken. I know you can break your tailbone this way, in which case the remedy is still the same. Ice it, be cautious, do not overexert yourself, rest, whatever. Regardless, I would have gone to the doctor if it got any worse, but it hurt very bad the first day. Just like as I was like, oh gosh, standing and sitting is very hard to do. And it's literally the act of standing or sitting. Being in either of those, sitting was really awful. I slept badly the first night because I just like didn't take a Tylenol until like 3:30 in the morning when I was finally like, okay, I give up, I can't sleep. After that, I have progressively gotten exponentially better. So like, I am really okay. But it did, like, I had to take a nap during the time I'm normally with the, like, after work yesterday on Tuesday, because I slept so poorly the night before. But that was like really the extent of how bad it was. Other than that, like, taking Tylenol, I took, still took one this morning, but I have been feeling much, much better. And like, I can walk up the stairs fine now and down the stairs fine now. Those are the other things, stairs and sitting to standing. But I've just been standing at my desk a lot. And my mother-in-law brought me her like cushion from her car. That's like one of those donut cushions to like help support, which has been helping too. So overall, I'm fine, but just know ice skating as a non-graceful person in your 30s is really hard compared to when you're like 20. There were like we saw a bunch of like, they had to be like maybe seniors in high school or like early college kids, and they were like falling all over the ice. And I was like, these kids are still gonna be fine tomorrow. Like, they're gonna be a little bit sore, but like, this is gonna be with me for the whole week. At least I knew. Really the funny thing is, I was like texting Ariel. It's like, the worst part was actually like on Wednesday, all of my muscles were so sore, like Tuesday and Wednesday, because I was using like a ton of stabilizing muscles that I never use, because again, I don't normally go on knives onto a slippery surface. That is an insane thing to do. I admire anybody who can ice skate gracefully. I would do this again as a group activity if we rollerbladed, because that's a little bit less hard on your body than like hard ice. You still hit the ground if you fall, but like it's less treacherous. I actually just like also don't need to like strap anything onto my feet and move. As like a concept, I'm really okay just like walking. Mike also thought this was so funny, because he's like, you would go ice skating, but you don't like to ride your bike. And I was like, I don't like to ride bikes. I don't like it because I find it kind of uncomfortable, but also because if you're going to ride a bike around here, mostly you're riding around a lot of people or a lot of cars, and I don't like to do either of those things. I want to go like my pace slowly on a boardwalk. Like maybe then I would ride a bike, but otherwise not really. Which is fine. That's my choice. I also like choose not to do most outside sports, like, or most like thrill seeking sports like skiing, because you can die and or break your arms. And I just don't want to do that. So I think it's okay that my hobby is the couch. I do work out still and like keep my body active, and we go on like hikes and walks. And I feel like that's enough. That's enough for me. I know myself. That's okay. But anyway, I had fun. I'm glad that I went, and I can safely say I told them even when we're there, and it was like, I think it's safe to say if you guys want to ice skate again, I'm here to be your snack mom. I'll bring snacks. I'll make sure we have hot chocolate, and I will post up and have a spot for us in like, they use like the benches, like the team benches too, where people can like observe, and you can just walk onto those, right? So there were some parents that were sitting there watching their kids too. So it was like, I will be one of those, and I'll have some like light refreshments for you all. I'll have some like ice packs just in case. That would be my job. Okay. Now, the next thing that's I just didn't update you the last couple of weeks, even though this has been like exciting over here in my house, is I started the very beginning of my sourdough journey. I know I'm like 6 years late to this, and everybody already was over sourdough at this point. But I was talking about it with Emily, who still has her sourdough, and for knit night, she makes us sourdough things on occasion, and I really love them, like things with the discard and like actual loaves and buns and other things. I do love to bake, and Mike and I were talking about this when I started, because I kind of just was like, she and I were talking, and she was like, and I don't know, I think it was Ariel maybe too, like being interested in doing some sourdough stuff. She was telling us about it, maybe even at knit weekend, and I was like, okay, maybe after the holidays I would like to get into this. I'm glad I waited, but when we were at her house, I got starter, and I got some things baking very quickly. So I did my first loaf, which I realized that we don't have a Dutch oven or really anything convenient to cook it in. So like I prepped a bowl, but then I just baked it in a like a loaf pan, which ended up fine. I have since made 2 like actual sandwich loaf breads, which were better. Just like Mike said he liked the other texture too, but I think just like in rise and consistency. And then I have made some chocolate chip cookies and a coffee cake and some other stuff. So I've been having a really good time. I've only had it for a couple of weeks, and I've just been, having fun feeding my starter. And by the way, I got the starter from Emily, who like got it from a friend who had it from their grandma. So this is an old starter. So it's like very hardy, low care, low maintenance. So I can do less baking if I want. But Mike also said that he like loved that I was baking something. He is not as much of a sweet eater. That's me. I also don't love to bake sweets all the time because I will just eat them. And now my kid will also, she knows that sugar is good. We really often only give like most of the sweet treats she gets is stuff that I bake. So she wants me to bake more sweet things, but I was like, but I could bake savory, and like we can all enjoy that sweet things when we have friends over or we're going to go see friends. And that has been really fun. So I'm excited to continue trying things. If you have any favorite sourdough recipes, please drop them below for me. If you have questions or want to talk about it, maybe I'll just open a baking channel on the Discord, because it's been very fun. I mean, it doesn't have to be sourdough, it could be any kind of bakes. But it is fun and nice to get back into it. And Mike also was like, are you so excited to use your stand mixer more than just for cookie season? Granted, I make cookies and cakes or something, like most, like any friends we see for the birthdays, but also everybody in our family, like his parents, his brothers, everybody. I usually make the dessert for birthdays, and I don't mind doing that. I love doing it, but that does mean like my stand mixer only gets like so much activity. I'm not doing like so much like weekly baking. So this will be something I do a little bit more often, and I've been having a really good time with it. I'll pop up hopefully like during that little diatribe here, like a little bit of some pictures of my loaves that I've made that have been and felt successful. So yeah, it's been really fun. So baking, knitting, trying to stay inside and not ice skate. That's going to be my go forward plans for the winter and spring. Overall, I don't have anything else I think to share this week about like acquisitions. I know I told you Woolberry, I did get my order in, but she only kept it up for 2 hours. Her intention was at least 4 to 8 hours, but everybody showed up for her, and that's so good. I'm glad she got the support that she was hoping for, and I'm sure she's probably a little bit sad that people did feel a little bit rushed, because that's not generally like she didn't want it to be that kind of release. It is what it is when you're going out and you only have a time, like she has, the quantity she wanted to dye. That's just what happened. There have been a lot of, like a couple other announcements for some dyers' new collections that are coming out in this new year. I think a lot of people take like a little bit of a mini break, or they're like fulfilling orders from that happened at the end of the year. I know Advents are going to come soon, which is so wild and crazy to me. That's like in the next like 3 months, you'll see like Advent starting, which is this like, what is happening? But I know people have to plan. So if there's any like fun announcements or other things that you want to put below so people can read them. I know there's a lot of people who write comments that actually read the other comments, because it's not like overwhelming down there, but like please do share those too, because I'm not on Instagram a whole lot recently, just for mental health and other things. But I have been trying to also go through and make a list of my FOs that never made it onto the grid. So I know a lot of people do like the Fiberuary or whatever, where they'll put like a post every day with like different prompts on Instagram. I don't think I want to do the prompts, but I do actually think I might just do this, like, will be the schedule for me, is like every day in February, just post a grid picture of FOs that need to make it out. And I might do a couple like in the next week, but I just have so many that just never made it because I did so much testing the year before. So all of those made it on in the, you know, schedule that of the test. And since I've been knitting more just of patterns that I want to knit, I just don't have the impetus to put it on. I share it with you guys here and I just don't share with the audience there. So I'm going to start doing that more, which will be fun. Okay, my house is waking up, so I gotta get going. But thank you so much for joining me. I had a great time chatting with you. I hope you had fun chatting with me. Please let me know what you were knitting on in the comments below. Again, you guys are always I'm happy for you to always share other things. Any other fiber things you want to tell me or you want to discuss or whatever other things want me to discuss, you can drop it below. You can always get to me on Instagram DMs or also on Discord DMs or in the Discord if you have questions, like for a smaller, greater audience there. I did not put in the dates for January get together, but I will put in something for like probably next weekend, just like very end of the month thing to hopefully like do a little craft hour with y'all. I want to know what you've been working on while watching though, or just other exciting things you're working on right now generally as your projects. And as always, keep moving your body, stretch, don't hurt yourself ice skating, and I'll talk to you next week.